Hare Krishna, welcome everyone again to our Bhagavad Gita overview. So we have discussed till 7.25. So we'll start with prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathānvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानो सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा वेलकम एवरीवन so I'll just take Hare Krishna. So we had discussed that how in the first section of this Bhagavad Gita, which is Karma Yoga, Karma Yoga section, where Krishna has told Arjuna you have to fight with a mood of detached consciousness. You have to practice Nishkam Karma Yoga. And then the sixth chapter, Krishna has described Ashtanga Yoga. And then he said that the best of all the Ashtanga yogis is, best of all the yogis is a devotee of the Lord. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yuktamo matah. So then on his own, Krishna goes into that mood and he starts describing the glories of this bhakti yoga. And he describes that you have to hear properly to develop attachment to Krishna. And then he describes how he can be perceived in various things in this world, how is the essence of all the prime necessities of our life. And then he describes he is the source of everything. And then Krishna says that now I reciprocate with the people, but there are some people who do not come to me, they go to Devatas because they want quick results. And the Devatas, I am only giving them the faith to the worshippers to worship those Devatas, and I am only giving the power to the demigods to give them the results. So Krishna is a very, very merciful and all accommodating God. And then he says, these people, those who are worshipping Devatas, they are alpamedisaha, because the results which they get from worshipping the Devatas, it is temporary. And then Krishna describes the impersonalists, the worshippers of the impersonal Brahman, that is Mayavadis. Krishna calls them abuddhayaha. And then he says, these people are abuddhayaha, avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mam abuddhayaha. And then Krishna says, I do not reveal myself to them. So we discussed in this last verse, 725, that Krishna is saying, I reserve the right to reveal myself or conceal myself. So that is the right Krishna reserves with himself, that he will not be manifested to everyone. He will show himself only to the devotees of the Lord. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that someone may say that Krishna was visible to everyone. when Krishna descended on this planet. So why this is described that he was not manifest to everyone? That means Prabhupada writes, so many people were seeing Krishna, but very few understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he quotes this verse from Kunti Maharani's prayers, Maya Javanika Channam Agyadhoksha Jamabhyam Nalakshase Modhadrisha Nato Natya Dharo Yatha. So Krishna covers the living entities by the curtain of illusory potency. Maya Javanik Achannam. No one can know Krishna in full. And Prabhupada quotes one verse from the 10th canto, 14th chapter, 7th verse, where Brahmaji is praying to Krishna that even if somebody can count the sand particles, count the snowflakes, and count the rays of the sun, still one cannot know the opulence and the qualities of Krishna to the fullest. So that is how Krishna is. Nobody can understand him. Only a devotee can have some understanding about Krishna. So then, in this last section, Krishna describes that if one surrenders to him, then he will attain liberation. So liberation is possible only if somebody surrenders to Krishna. And then Krishna says that, I know past, present, and future. And nobody can know past, present, and future except God. As Krishna says, he has said in the fourth chapter also, 4.1. Imam Vyasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Apyayam. I have told this knowledge to Sun God in the beginning. And then Arjuna gets confused. But you and me are of same age. How are you telling that you told this knowledge to Sun God? Krishna says, yes. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna. Anyaham veda sarvani nattam vidha parantapa. Krishna says, oh Arjuna, both you and me have taken birth many times. You don't remember any of them. I remember all of them. Because Ajopi Sannapyatma, I am unborn, eternal, Bhutanam Ishwaropi San. I am the Lord of this material creation. So therefore, because Krishna is the Lord of this material creation, he knows everything, past, present, and future. So Krishna is saying here that Jiva, they may get covered by Maya, but I am not covered by Maya. And Prabhupada gives the example of the cloud covering sun. So from our perspective, sun is covered by the cloud, but cloud is actually not covered by the sun. It is our vision which is obstructed, and that is what is not allowing us to see the sun. So when we are covered by the illusory potency of the Lord, then we will not be able to realize Krishna. So therefore in this verse, Krishna is saying, I know, Ved Aham, Ved means to know. I know everything, Samatitani. I know Vartaman, Bhavishya, and Bhuta. I know past, present, and future. But Mam tu Vedana Kashana, nobody knows me, because I am beyond this material creation. And then Arjuna may say, but you are saying nobody knows you. So why nobody knows you? So then Krishna describes in the next verse why nobody knows Krishna. And then 27th verse, Krishna says, because living entities, they are deluded. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Ichha dvesha samuthena, arising from the desire and hate. Dvandva mohena, bewildered by the dualities of this world. What are the dualities of this world? Happiness, distress, fame, infamy, prestige, dishonor, heat, cold, all these things are dualities of this world. Dvandva mohena bharata, sarva bhutani sammoham. These things are bewildering every living entity. Sarge yanti parantapa. So all living entities are born in delusion. So some people devotees are saying that there is echo in sound, but I have not made any changes in the settings. I don't know why it is coming. So we'll continue with that, or let's see. Hare Krishna. So Krishna is saying, because people, living entities, are deluded by these dualities of the world, therefore they do not mean Ichha and Dvesha. Ichha means whatever we desire. Desire for what we like, and envy means what envy for that which we don't like. So everybody in this world, they are constantly going through these two types of emotions, Ichha and Dvesha. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, this mana, apamana, sukha, dukkha, getting attached to the family, this is my wife, this is my children, these are my children, this is my home. All this is comprising the dualities of delusion. So Krishna is stuck here saying that, you know, because living entities, they have the desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. That's why they do not know Krishna. And then after hearing this, Arjuna starts thinking, is there anyone who is free from this delusion? And is there anyone qualified to manifest devotion to Krishna? Who will be free from the dualities of this world? Who can practice bhakti? So next verse is very, very important verse where Krishna is giving a very important instruction to everyone. There he says, who can perform bhakti? Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrataah. So Krishna is saying, Yesham tu antagatam papam. So antagatam papam means those devotees whose actions, sinful actions, are completely eradicated. Yesham tu antagatam papam. And then jananam punya karmanam, and those who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life. Te dvandva moha nirmukta, they are free from dualities of delusion. Bhajante mam dridhavrata, they engage themselves in my service with determination. So therefore, this verse very, very profoundly describes what should be our attitude and what should be our disposition in the practice of bhakti. So Krishna is saying, Yesham tu antagatam papam, those who are free from sinful reactions. So somebody may say, okay, so if I want to practice bhakti, so do I have to become completely pure? Then only can I start practicing bhakti? Krishna is saying no. See, Krishna is saying that anybody can start practicing bhakti, but who can start practicing bhakti with determination? That is what Krishna is talking about in this verse. Bhajante mam dridhavrataah. Anybody can perform devotional service, but to practice devotional service consistently with determination requires freedom from path. So in 7.16, Krishna said, Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna. Sukritina. So all these people, they start practice of Krishna consciousness. But their practice of Krishna consciousness is not steady. Krishna is saying only Jnani is practicing Krishna consciousness on a steady platform. So to become steady, we have to be free from our sinful tendencies, free from our anarthas. Te dvandva moha nirmukta. When we become free from our sinful activities, then we will be free from dualities of this world also. Then bhajante mam dridhavrataah. Then we can practice bhakti with strong determination. So therefore, we have to understand determination, as Chaitanya Charaprabhu says a wonderful line. He says, determination is not just a function of intention, but of purification. The more we become purified, the more we will be determined to practice bhakti. So therefore, we have to be determined, and to be determined, we have to be pure in our actions. In one purport, Prabhupada writes, nobody can be pure in actions unless he is pure in his eating process. Nobody can be pure in his eating process unless he is pure in his thoughts. So if thoughts are pure, he will eat things properly. He will eat right things. And if he eats right things, he will nourish the intelligence properly and then he will act properly. And Prabhupada in the purport describes the importance of association of devotees. He says that only by association of devotees one can come out of this sinful tendency and can practice bhakti with determination. येषां संस्मरणात् पुंसात् सद्यो शुद्ध्यन्ति वै गृहात् किं पुनर्दर्शन स्पर्श पादशौचासनादिभिः. So Parikshit Maharaj is offering respects and obeisances to Shukadeva Goswami. He is saying, Yesham, just by remembering the devotees of the Lord, Sadhyo Shuddhanti Vai Grihat, one becomes free from all the sinful contaminations. His home becomes pure. What to speak of if somebody gets a chance to darshana, sparsha, and pada shauchasanadivi? What to speak if somebody gets a chance to have a darshan of a devotee of the Lord, touch the feet of the Lord, wash the lotus feet of the Lord? So it is very, very important to be in association of devotees. And then Prabhupada in the purport also quotes this verse from Bhagavatam. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimukte tamodwaram yoshitam sangi sangam. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimukte. By associating with devotees of the Lord, the doors of liberation, gates of liberation become wide open. Tamodwaram yoshitam sangi sangam. And if somebody is associating with sense gratifiers, then the gates of hell become wide open. Then after this, Krishna says, in this verse he has described who can do determined bhakti. Now he describes that there is a fourth type of devotee who desires liberation. So there are three types of sakama bhaktas which Krishna has described in 7.16. Arto, Artharthi and Jigyasu. 7.16 Krishna says these three types of people, they want something in life. Jnani does not want anything. He just wants to know about the Supreme. Now Krishna is saying there is another type of sakama bhakta. And what does he want? He wants liberation. So desiring liberation is also a desire. It makes our bhakti contaminated. So therefore, Krishna is saying there is a mokshakami bhakta who desires liberation from this material world. And therefore, Krishna in this last verse, second last verse of 7th chapter describes those devotees who desire liberation. Jara marana mokshaya, those people who want to get liberated from birth and death. Mam ashritya, they also take shelter of me. Yatanti, they strive for liberation. Te brahma tadvido kritsram, you should know them to be Brahma. And they know all about Brahma, self, and the transcendental activities. So in the purport, Prabhupada describes that to know what is knowledge requires knowledge of Jiva, Jagat, and Ishwar. So if somebody has this knowledge, Vidu Kritsnam means he knows everything. So devotee of the Lord, they know everything because they know three things in principle: Jagat, Jiva, and Ishvara. And then last verse of this chapter, Krishna is describing few words which forms the basis of the next chapter. So he says, Sadhibhutadi Devam Mam Sadhyagyam Chaye Vidu Prayanakale Pichamam Te Viduryukta Chetasa. So he says Adhibhut. Adhibhut means governing principle of the material manifestation. Adhideva, controller of the devatas, and Adhyagya, the lord of the sacrifices. All this is me. I am the governing principle of all the cosmic creation. I am the controller of the devatas, and I am the Lord of all sacrifices. And whoever understands me in this way, he will come to me at the time of death. He'll remember me at the time of death and he'll come to me. So Prabhupada in the purport of this 30th verse describes that the 7th chapter particularly explains how one can become fully Krishna conscious. And he says the beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of persons who are Krishna conscious. So that is what is described in the 7th chapter. So some devotees are almost many are saying there is some problem with the sound, but I don't know why there is a problem. How is it now? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Any changes? Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the questions I will take later. Please remind me at the end of the class. So now in this chapter, Krishna has described there are 4 types of Sakam Bhaktas, and there is a Jnani, and there is a Kevala Bhakta. Kevala Bhakta means pure devotee of the Lord. So these 6 types of devotees are described in chapter 7. And then chapter 8 starts. In this 8th chapter, Arjuna asks about the things which Krishna has described in the last verse of 7th chapter. Let's change the mic just a minute. How is it? How is it now? Anyways, it is better. Please put on the chat. Okay, we'll continue. So in the 8th chapter, Arjuna asks 6 questions in the first 2 verses. And Krishna describes 5 questions in verse 3rd and 4th of the 8th chapter, and then the last question he describes in the rest of the chapter. So we'll see what are the questions and what is the answer Krishna is giving. So before that, we'll discuss a concept of Kevala Bhakti and Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So it is a little technical concept, but just try to understand. Kevala Bhakti in simple words is pure devotional service, which is not contaminated with any desire for sense gratification, any desire for any type of name, fame, prestige. So that is called Kevala Bhakti. And there are some types of mixed devotion. So the bhakti can be mixed with 3 things. Bhakti can be mixed with karma mentality, jnana mentality, and ashtanga yoga mentality. So what is this karma mentality? I am practicing bhakti. Bhakti is the prominent thing in my mind, but at the same time I want some sense gratification also. That is called karma mishra bhakti. Second is jnana mishra bhakti. Jnana Mishra Bhakti means I will practice bhakti, but still I have some desire for knowledge. And it is getting mixed with the desire for serving Krishna. Then it becomes Jnana Mishra Bhakti. And then Yoga Mishra Bhakti means the devotee is practicing Ashtanga Yoga, but the focus is Krishna Bhakti, but he is attached to the process of Ashtanga Yoga also. So the bhakti is the prominent element and the yoga is the secondary element. So this is one concept which will be described by Krishna in this 8th chapter. he will describe in this chapter about Yoga Mishra Bhakta, a devotee who is practicing Ashtanga Yoga. What is his destination? Krishna will describe in this 8th chapter. So now, so far Krishna has described in first section from 1 to 6 chapters. Krishna has described the Bhakti Yogas in some places. In second chapter, 61st verse, Krishna says, Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asit mat paraha. Become surrendered to me. And third chapter, 30th verse, Krishna says, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa. Offer all your works to me. Then fourth chapter, 10th verse, again Krishna says, Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashrita. Surrender to me. Again, 5th chapter, last verse, Krishna says, 5.29, Muktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam suridam. I am the supreme well-wisher of everyone. 6th chapter, again Krishna has said, last verse, yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana. There he says that yogis, they are the best of all the devotees of all the devotees, they are best of all the yogis. So these are few glimpses of bhakti Krishna gives in first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. 7th chapter, Krishna describes in detail about the process of bhakti. And now in this 8th chapter, Krishna describes some new terms, and he describes the importance of remembering him at the time of death. So that will be the flow of this chapter. So in this chapter, what Krishna will do, Krishna is comparing Ashtanga Yoga with Bhakti Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga means the person who is practicing this Ashtanga Yoga is a devotee, but he is still attached to the process of Ashtanga Yoga. So that is Mishra. Ashtanga Yoga means Bhakti in this context. Bhakti which is mixed with yoga practice. So I know it is a little bit technical, so don't worry about it. As we go in the chapter 8, it will become more clear. So in this chapter, Krishna says, this path of Ashtanga Yoga, it involves so many things. Path of Bhakti is very, very easy. And only thing you have to do is you have to remember Krishna at the time of death. So now, these are the questions we'll take. First verse, Krishna is saying, Arjuna is asking question. Kim tad brahma, kim adhyatmam, kim karma purushottama, adhibhutam cha kim proktam, adhidaivam kim achyate. So Arjuna is asking, kim tad brahma? What is Brahman? Kim adhyatma? What is self? Kim karma? What are the fruitive activities? Adhibhutam cha kim proktam? What is this material manifestation? Adhidaivam kim achyate? What are the demigods? So all these are the technical terms which Arjuna is asking to Krishna. And Prabhupada is in his purport focusing on the word Purushottama. Purushottama means the Supreme Lord, Supreme Person. And he says Arjuna is asking these questions to Krishna because Krishna is Purushottama and he is capable to give answers to this question. Second verse, he says, Adhiyagya katham potra. Who is the Lord of sacrifice who is situated in everyone's heart? Dehesmin Madhusudana. Prabhupada in the purport focuses on this word Madhusudana. As somebody was asking, I think 2 days back about this Madhusudana. So Prabhupada in the purport describes about this Madhusudana. Arjuna is telling to Krishna, oh Krishna, you are Madhusudana. You have killed so many demons. Now please kill this demon of doubt which has come in my mind. Prayana kale chakatham gyeyosi niyatatmabihi. How can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So then in the third verse onwards, Krishna starts answering. Who is Brahma? Brahma is Jiva, who is indestructible, as we have heard in that second chapter. And what is this Adhyatma? Adhyatma means the material nature, which is eternal, which is coming by the previous life's impressions. It goes with the jiva's life after life. Then what is karma? Karma means the fruitive activities of the jiva that lead to transmigration. We perform some action, and because of those actions, we take one body after another body. And then what is adhibhuta? Adhibhuta means what is the material nature. So Krishna says that prakriti, which is constantly changing, that is the adhibhuta. So in the second verse, where the Krishna Arjuna is asking, Prayan kale cha katham geyosi. How can one know Krishna at the time of death? Prabhupada in the purport writes very beautifully. He quotes a verse from King Kulakshekar Maharaj, who is one of the Alvars. And this is a very, very famous verse from Mukundamala Stotra. Krishna tvadiya pada pankaja panjarantam adyaiva me vishati manasa raja hamsa prana prayana samaye kafavata pittai antavarodana vidhau smaranam kutaste. So Kulakshekar Maharaj is saying, "Oh my Lord, let my mind be attracted towards your lotus feet. My mind is like a swan, and swans, they are attracted towards the stem of the lotus. Now I am perfectly all right. My body is fit. I am healthy. Please let me die immediately. Because at the time of death, Kaf, Vat, Pitta, they will obstruct my throat and I will not be able to remember you." So Prabhupada is writing, remembering Krishna at the time of death is the goal and is the only requirement to go back home, back to Godhead. That's what he says. So therefore, our mind should be attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. And we'll continue in the next slide. Krishna describes next four things which Arjuna has asked. Adhideva. Adhideva means Virata Purusha. Adhideva means the gigantic universal form. We'll be discussing this form in great detail in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And then he says, Paramatma is the enjoyer of all the sacrifices and he is the Adhi Yagya. And then, how is this Adhi Yagya known in this body? Krishna says, in the heart of every embodied being, as the regulator, I inspire performance of sacrifice. And then, the last question of Arjuna, Prayan Kale Chakatham, forms the basis of entire chapter of this Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter. So now, in this, you can see the link. So Krishna now answers the last question of Arjuna about remembering him at the time of quitting the material body. So first, Krishna gives a direct answer and then he gives a general principle. So he says, very, very famous verse about remembering Krishna at the time of death. Antakale cha mameva smaranamuktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastatra samshayah. Antakale cha mam eva. Whoever remembers me, smaran, whoever remembers only me at the time of death, muktva kalevaram, he'll be free from this bodily engagement. This kalevara, this body is capturing us. It is making us bound to this material world. Whoever remembers Krishna at the time of death, he becomes free from the bondage of material body. Yaprayati samadbhavam, and he attains my nature. Yati nasti atra samshaya. Oh Arjuna, there is no doubt in this. So important word to understand is Krishna is not saying kirtan muktva. He's saying smarana muktva. At the time of death, somebody may be chanting the holy names, but if his mind is not on Krishna, he will not attain Krishna. So smarana muktva is very, very important. We have to chant and remember Krishna, because many times it happens that at the time of death, person is not able to speak also. So therefore, Krishna is saying Kirtan is not important at the time of death. Smaran is important at the time of death. You have to cultivate throughout your life how I can remember Krishna. And this is the only verse in Bhagavad Gita where Prabhupada is quoting this Hare Krishna mantra twice in one purport. So that shows how much chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is a integral part of a devotee. By this we can relate ourselves, and by this we can always remember Krishna. So therefore, Smaran is a very, very important part to develop Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada writes, in this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. So two things we have to do: attentive chanting and attentive dealing. Attentively dealing with devotees and chanting this Hare Krishna mantra attentively. So then we will be able to remember Krishna at the time of death also. So now Krishna says, just as by remembering Krishna one attains Krishna, by remembering something else he attains that object. So the general principle is yam yam vapi smaran bhavam techityante kalevaram tam tamaivaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, whatever form one remembers at the time of death, tejate ante kalevaram, the time of death, whatever form one remembers, tam tam evaiti kaunteya, that form one surely attains without fail, O Arjuna. So Krishna is saying the general principle, the general law of last thought. So this 8.5 and 6, this is the law of last thought. Whatever one remembers at the time of death, he attains that form without fail. So we have to understand and we have to consciously cultivate our desires. Because if we look at our subtle body, then we can understand what was our past. Subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and ego. So if somebody is attached to lusty thoughts, that shows that in the past life he has engaged in that very much. Somebody is too much angry, somebody is very power hungry, that means he has cultivated that things in the past life also. So therefore, whatever thoughts, whatever desires we cultivate in this life, we will attain next life in the similar way. And Prabhupada in the purports, he quotes the story of Bharat Maharaj. As Bharat Maharaj, he left everything, went to the forest to do tapasya, he became attached to a deer, and then one day it so happened the deer, it was missing. Bharat Maharaj kept searching for the deer and it went dark. He fell down in a ditch and he was about to die. As he was about to die, he remembered the deer, and for sure in the next life he became a deer. So therefore we have to understand, we have to consciously cultivate our thoughts. Whatever thought we cultivate in our life, for sure we will attain that form in the next life. Because it is said, at the time of death, whatever we have done in our whole life, it runs in front of eyes just like a video, that camera reel. Everything comes in front of our eyes at the time of death. And whatever we have done maximum, it will come more number of times. And there are chances that we'll remember that thing, for sure. So therefore, we have to consciously cultivate thinking about Krishna, remembering Krishna. That is the law of destination after death. Now, Krishna may say, but Arjuna may say, okay, remembering Krishna is the goal, but how to remember him at the time of death? मरने के समय भगवान को कैसे याद करें? How is this possible? Krishna is saying, it is not that, if you are having exam tomorrow, you start preparing today. You have to prepare whole year. Similarly, Krishna says, by remembering him whole life, one will be able to remember Krishna at the time of death also. Therefore, Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhyacha Mayyarpitamano buddhir mame vaishyasya samshayah. Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, O Arjuna, sarveshu kaleshu, always, mam anusmar, you have to think of me. And at the same time, yudhyacha, do your prescribed duty. Krishna is never giving a chance to Arjuna to think that, okay, मैं आपके बारे में सोचूंगा, सोचना is the goal, na? I have to think about you, well, think about you. Why to fight? Krishna is saying, no, you have to think about me also and you have to fight also. So because Arjuna may think, oh, thinking is easier, I'll do thinking. Krishna is saying, no. Ma manusmar yudhyacha. And then he says, Mayyarpitamano buddhe. You offer me your mind and intelligence. In this way, Mame Vaishyasya Samshaya. In this way, you will surely come to me. So interesting thing is, we'll see. In 3rd chapter, 30th verse, Krishna has said, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa. Krishna has said that you do your work and offer the results to me. That was the thought process in 3rd chapter. Now just see what Krishna is telling to Arjuna. 3rd chapter, Krishna said, do your work and offer your fruits to me. Now Krishna is going deeper and he is saying, first think of me and then do your work. So Krishna is taking Arjuna to a deeper level of Krishna consciousness. 3rd chapter, Krishna told Arjuna, you do your work and offer your fruits to me. Now Krishna is saying, you think of me and then do your work. So that's how Krishna is taking Arjuna to a deeper level of Krishna consciousness. We have to think of Krishna always. And this is a very, very important for everybody of us, those who are working, those who are householders, and whatever in temple services, whatever we are doing, we have to be conscious of Krishna. And how can we remember Krishna always? When we are doing our activity, Krishna is saying, you have to remember me and then do your activity. How is it possible? For that, our sadhana is very, very important. Whatever we are doing, our chanting, 16 rounds, following principles, reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, the sadhana is very, very important. And by that, Krishna will be in the foreground at the time of sadhana. When we are doing chanting, reading Bhagavad Gita, then Krishna is in foreground. So when the Krishna is in foreground, then, and if we are conscious of Krishna at that time, then when we are working, then Krishna will be in our background of our mind. Krishna will be there in the back of our mind. But if we are not spending quality amount of time or sadhana, the time which we have given for chanting, if we are not attentive, if we are not putting our quality effort in our chanting, in our reading scriptures, then Krishna will not be in the background when we are working. Chaitanya Charuprabhu says, Krishna will not be in the background, he will be out of the ground. So when we are doing our chanting, when we are doing our daily reading of scriptures, if we are not focused, if we are not attentive, then it will not be possible to remember Krishna when we are not doing direct devotional service. So if you want to remember Krishna always, then at least for some time we have to remember Krishna exclusively. Exclusively we have to put our efforts to remember Krishna, and that will happen during our chanting. When we are chanting, when we are reading Bhagavad Gita, exclusively we have to give time to Krishna. This time is only for Krishna and nobody else. I am not going to do any compromise in my chanting. Chanting is not a time to develop social relationships. Many times we are inclined to talk to devotees while we are chanting. Chanting is not a time to develop relationship with devotees. It is time to develop relationship with Krishna. So if we are not giving quality time when we are chanting, then Krishna will not be in the background when we are not chanting. Therefore, Krishna is saying, Mam Anusmara. And then Krishna says, Krishna said in this word, Sarveshu Kaleshu Anusmar. Always remember me. Arjuna may think, but how is this possible? How can I remember you always? Krishna says, it is possible by practice. This is what Krishna has said in the 6th chapter also. Abhyas and Vairagya. Again, Krishna is saying here, we have to practice. Without practicing, we will not be able to remember Krishna always. It will not happen one day we'll get up and we'll have all Krishna thoughts. No. We'll have to consciously remember him. Consciously remember Krishna at every step of our life. Therefore, Krishna says, Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa na anyagamina. Na anyagamina. Our mind should not go anywhere. It should be undeviated. Paramam purusham divyam yati parthanuchintayam. And we have to remember, meditate about that Param Purusha. We have to practice. So here Krishna is talking about that Yoga Mishra Bhakta. Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. And for that matter, for every one of us. So the yogi, what he does? He tries to remember Krishna. He tries to fix his mind on Krishna. So then Krishna says, now Krishna will describe the ways how a yogi meditate on the absolute truth. So there are different ways. Ashtanga yogi focuses his mind on Paramatma who is there in the heart of that yogi. And Ashtanga yogi does not remember the pastimes of Krishna and various leelas of Krishna. What does he remember? What does he meditate on? It is described in the 9th verse. Kavim Puranam Manushashitaram. He is the oldest person. Kavim Puranam, oldest. Anushashitaram, he is the controller. Anoraniyam sam anusmaredya. Anusmara means you have to remember. Anor Aniyam, Krishna is the smaller than the smallest. Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam. Sarvasya Dhataram, he is the maintainer of entire creation. Achintya Rupam means he is very, very inconceivable. And Prabhupada in the purport focuses on this word inconceivable. Achintya. Krishna has so many inconceivable potencies. He is the smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. He is far, he is near, he walks, he does not walk. All these are the achintya, inconceivable potencies of the Lord. Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. Aditya Varnam, he is like the luminous sun. And Tamasa Parastat, he is transcendental, beyond this material nature. And then Krishna explains about this Shat Chakra Yoga. How does a yogi meditate? And as he is meditating, what happens? He attains the transcendental destination. Satam Param Purusham Upayati Divyam. Prayan Kale, if this yogi remembers Krishna at the time of death, then what happens? Satam Param Purusham Upayati Divyam. He attains that supreme personality of Godhead. And then Prabhupada in the purport describes various limbs of this Ashtanga Yoga. So some people have this understanding. Bhakti means you have to relax. Spirituality means relaxation of our mind. Aram, Shanti chahiye to spirituality practice karna hai. But if you see what a spiritualist is doing here, he is doing lots of tapasya. So bhakti will give relaxation, but not now. At present, our mind is contaminated with so many anarthas. After we get purified of all our anarthas, then we will become relaxed. Then we'll experience the peace of Krishna consciousness. So then after this, Krishna describes the process of this Shat Chakra Yoga in 11th, 12th and 13th verses. Because Arjuna is not able to understand how does Ashtanga Yogi focus his mind on this, Paramatma who is within, and how does he raise his prana from the lowermost center to the highest center. All these things Arjuna is not able to understand. So it is all detailed, complicated process. and Krishna will just give a glimpse of this Ashtanga Yoga process. So then in 11th verse he says, what are the requirements for Shat Chakra Yoga? He says Aksharam. The Ashtanga yogi has to utter Om. Om. No. So he has to utter this Om, Pranav. And then Ved Vido Vandanti. He has to study all the scriptures, all the Vedas. He should be learned. Then Vitragaha. He should be free from the attachments of this material world. So if you want to become liberated, in Ashtanga Yoga, it requires renunciation. So that is the prime requirement for a Ashtanga Yogi. A householder cannot practice Ashtanga Yoga. We discussed in detail in the 6th chapter. He has to go to the forest, be there in the solitary place, focus the mind in between the eyebrows, do so many things. Vitaragaha, give up all attachments. Brahmacharyam charanti, and he has to practice celibacy. And then he says, if somebody is practicing this, then what will be the result? Vishanti tatte padam. He'll attain that supreme destination. And then the 12th verse, Krishna again describes this Shat Chakra Yoga process. And then he describes in the 13th verse the destination of this yoga process. Sayati paramam gatim. So he attains the highest destination. Somebody may say, but this is very difficult, Baba. Itna sab kaun karega? This is very difficult. I cannot do it. So Krishna understands. This Shat Chakra Yoga and Kundalini Jagrit करना और नीचे से ऊपर लेके जाना प्राण को सबके बस का नहीं है. अपने घरों में बैठ के नहीं कर सकते ये सब. Then Krishna says, oh, Arjuna, don't get bewildered. I'll tell you an easy process. In the next verse, first and only time in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that this bhakti process, this is very easy. This is Ananya Cheta Satatam Yomam Smarati Nityashah Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha. Now Krishna is describing the process of sadhana bhakti or kevala bhakti. So here Krishna is saying Sulabha Ananya Cheta Satatam, without deviation of the mind, always. Yomam Smarti, whoever remembers me always, for him Tasya Aham Sulabha. I am easy to obtain, O Partha, Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha, because he is constantly engaged in the process of devotional service. So we have to cultivate this remembrance of Krishna throughout our life. And then it will be very, very easy. So we may say, but fixing mind on Krishna constantly, it is not so easy. But you should understand that anything in spiritual life is not easy. Spirituality is not an easy path, because we are trying to go away against the current of this material world. The material world is by nature taking us towards sense gratification. Spirituality means getting connected to Krishna. But of all these spiritual paths, Karma Yoga, Sakam Karma, Nishkam Karma, Jnana, Ashtanga, Bhakti, amongst all these yoga processes, Bhakti Yoga is the easiest. For us, it may seem it is most difficult. But Krishna is saying whatever you are thinking is most difficult is the easiest process which is available. Therefore, we have to constantly focus our mind, trying to focus our mind again and again. Yato yato nischalati manaschanchalam astiram tatastato niyamya itad atmanyeva vashamne. Wherever and whenever mind goes and wanders, bring it back. Nature of the mind is, if it is told not to do something, it will do that thing first. So now, I'll tell you something and you have to do it. Don't think of a blue monkey with a red tail. So, what everybody is thinking now? Everybody is thinking about the blue monkey with a red tail. So that is how mind is. Mind is told, ye nahi karna hai. यही पहले करूंगा मैं. Therefore, the bhakti process is simple. Bhakti process, nobody is told ये नहीं करना है. First, he is told क्या करना है. When Prabhupada, he went to America, and till the time of first initiation, Prabhupada had not told them about four regulative principles. He just made them chant. He just made them eat prasad to the fullest. Prabhupada would make gulab jamuns, and he would put that one full jar of gulab jamuns on the door of the temple center. And people, as they were going out, they would think at least ek aur leke jate. So Prabhupada was focusing on what we have to do in Krishna consciousness, and slowly as we advance in bhakti, naturally detachment from other material things come. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam. If somebody is practicing Vasudeva Bhagavati, then two things should come for sure. Janayati Ashu Vairagyam. Slowly and steadily he becomes detached from the material world. Everybody of us have this experience. The day one we started chanting, and now there is some transformation which has come in our lives. We have become little more detached from all this sense gratification. We have become more attached to Krishna. We have developed knowledge about Krishna. So these things will come. What we have to do is we have to just keep on endeavoring and struggling. Then Krishna says that you have to remember always, because it is the easiest path. Now Krishna starts the next theme, and there he describes how to get impetus. Okay, आप बोल रहे हैं कि भगवान को याद करना है, but उसके लिए impetus नहीं आ रहा है प्रभु जी. I'm not getting that impetus to think about Krishna. How to get that impetus to think about Krishna, fix mind on Krishna? So Krishna in 8.15, 16 and 17, three verses, Krishna describes the result of fixing the mind on Krishna. And then 18th and 19th verses, Krishna describes the destination of those who are not fixing their mind on Krishna. So then in this 15th verse, which is very, very famous verse, everybody of us, we know this, at least first two lines. Amupetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam na apnuvanti mahatmanam samsiddhim paramam gatah. So Krishna is saying, Mam upetya, whoever attains my abode, punarjanma na apnuvanti, he will not come back in this world. He will not take birth again. This world is dukkhalayam and ashashvatam. This world is full of miseries, and this world is temporary. Na apnuvanti mahatmanam samsiddhim paramam gatah, because they attain the highest perfection of lives. So we focus on this word dukkhalayam very much in our preaching, in our device JSD classes and everything. But Krishna is not putting focus on this dukkhalayam. Krishna is speaking as a casual conversation that this world is dukkhalayam. So just like if a patient is going to a doctor, and patient is admitted in a hospital. So doctor comes and he tells the patient, just see, if you take this treatment, then you will get discharged from this hospital, and you will not have to come back to this miserable place again. So the focus is not on this miserable hospital. Focus is take the treatment. So Krishna is saying, whoever becomes my devotee, remembers me at the time of death, he will leave this dukkhalayam very quickly and he'll attain my abode. Just like jailer, he goes to a prisoner and he is telling the prisoner, see, if you behave properly, then in a very short time you will be freed from this miserable jail. You will not have to come back again. So focus is on behave properly. Doctor is saying take the treatment properly. Krishna is saying remember me, and then you will not take birth again in this material world. Because this world is like a hospital and a jail where we are treated and we are corrected of our mentality. What is that sinful mentality? Our mentality of lording it over the material world. And then in the next verse again, Krishna contrasts this material world and the spiritual world. So material world, what is this material world? So Krishna says this material world is full of miseries. From the highest planet Brahmaloka to the lowest planet, everybody in this world, they are taking birth and dying. So there is rebirth in all the planets except Krishna's abode. Prabhupada in the purport describes that, sorry, yeah. Prabhupada in the purport, he describes that, even Brahmaji has to die and then he has to come back. He will have to come back to earthly planet. Because in Brahma Loka, if somebody is not practicing bhakti, then he will not be able to advance further. He will come back to this material world again. Because in the heavenly planets, it is very, very difficult to remember Krishna. For example, if you are told, if somebody is told you have to chant 16 rounds, attentive 16 rounds, पूरा एकदम ध्यान लगा के आपको जप करना है. And as you are chanting, there will be whole plate full of all Mahaprasad kept in front of you. And you don't have to get distracted. You have to just be attentively chanting. So how many of us will be able to do that? Especially when we have done, whole day Nirjal, Ekadashi. Next day, आपको 16 माला attentively करना है. Possible हो पाएगा? Very difficult. That is a similar condition in the heavenly planets. So much of sense gratification is available that to remember Krishna is not so easy. Kim dushkarena kratubisthapo vratairdanadivirva dujaina falguna nayatra narayana pada pankaja smriti pramushta tishay indriya utsavat. Demigods are saying, oh my Lord, we have attained this heavenly planet by doing dushkar tapa, all austerities, finances, charity, dana, dharma, everything we have done and we have attained this heaven. But Nayatra Narayana Pad Pankaja Smriti, it is very, very difficult to remember Narayan here. Why? Atishay Indriya Utsavat. Indriyon ka Atishay Utsav chal raha hai. So it is very difficult to remember Krishna in heavenly planets. Therefore, this earthly planet is the best place. And of all the earthly planets, earthly regions, India is the best place to practice bhakti. So we have got the best of everything. Only thing is we have to practice it. Therefore, Krishna is saying this world is a place of birth and death. And then he is contrasting. And then in the next verse, he describes, even if Brahma, he also dies. He says, Sahasrayuga parayantam aharyad brahmano vidu ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratravido jana. He says, Brahma, he lives for 311 trillion 40 billion years. After that, he dies. So everybody in this material world dies. And then this is the cycle, this is a calculation, we'll not go into the detail of this birth, the whole lifespan of Brahmaji. 311 trillion 40 billion years. But Brahmaji also dies. Then Krishna says, beyond this manifest and unmanifest material world, there is another place which is eternal that he describes in 20 verse, which is unmanifest from the material vision. Material, you cannot see the material, spiritual world. With our material eyes, it is very difficult to see the spiritual world. So the spiritual world is eternal and infallible. And then in 21st verse, he describes that, that eternal abode, that is mine. So Krishna is very clearly saying that supreme eternal spiritual world which is described in 20th verse, parastasvatu bhavanyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Even after everything in this material world gets annihilated, that supreme abode does not get annihilated. And that supreme abode is, that is mine abode of mine. So therefore Krishna is saying, Avyakta Akshara Ityuktaha, Avyakta and Akshara. That eternal abode which I described in 20th verse as Avyakta and Akshara, as eternal and infallible, Tamahu Paramam Gatim. Paramam Gatim, that is the highest destination one can attain. Yam Praptina Nivartante, by attaining that abode, one does not come back in this material world. That abode is abode of mind. Tadhama Paramam Mama, that is my abode, O Arjuna. So therefore, after describing that abode is his abode, Krishna describes the process to attain that abode. And there, Krishna says in 22nd verse, only by the practice of bhakti, one can attain that abode. Bhaktya labhyastu ananyaya. Only by unalloyed devotional service, one can attain that abode. Then, in 23rd to 26th verses, Krishna describes the various types of destinations which are achieved by various types of Ashtanga yogis. So Ashtanga yogis are those who are engaged in the process of meditating on Krishna. So those Ashtanga yogis who perfect their Ashtanga yoga process, they attain Brahma Jyoti. Those Ashtanga yogis who do not perfect their Ashtanga yoga process, they come back again in this material world. So in 24th, 25th verse, Krishna describes two types of path. One is called Devayan, path of no return, or path of light. And another is Pitriyan, path of return. So those Ashtanga yogis who do not perfect their life and they have not been purified of their enjoying mentality, they follow this path which you can see in the slide. They go to the heavenly planets, they enjoy in the moon planet and exhaust their pious credits, they come down. And those who are purified of all their desires, they ultimately reach Brahman. So don't have to get bewildered by all the details of these slides. The point is, Krishna is saying the yogi who perfects his life, he enters Brahman. Yogi who he is not liberated from the material desires, he comes back in this material world after enjoying in heavenly planets. Arjuna may think, "Arey baap re, itna sab kaise dhyan rakhunga main? How will I take care of all these things?" Kabhi, because Krishna has told, if somebody leaves the body at a particular time, he will attain this Brahman. और ये समय में मरेंगे तो ब्रह्मन जाएंगे, ये समय में मरेंगे तो वापस इधर आएंगे. You remember about Bhishma Dev? Bhishma Dev, he was waiting for the Uttarayan. So Uttarayan is the time when the yogi leaves his body, he attains liberation. So Arjuna is thinking, how I will take care of all these things? When to die, what to do? Krishna is saying, don't worry about all this. A devotee does not have to worry about what time I leave my body, because it is not in our hands. What we have to worry is, how will I remember Krishna? Therefore, in 27th verse, Krishna describes the path which is followed by devotees. Naite sriti partha janan yogi mohyati kaschana. The devotees of the Lord, they are not bewildered by all these complicated details of Ashtanga Yoga. What he does, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjuna, he is focused on remembering Krishna at the time of death. So we should worry what we can do, and Krishna will worry what we cannot do. When we will die is not in our hand. What time we will die, where we will die is not in our hand. What is in our hand? To cultivate the process of remembering Krishna. And then, last verse, Arjuna may think, if I just become yoga yukta, what about this yagya, dana, tapa? I will not be able to do all this. Krishna says, don't worry about all these things. Vedeshu yagyeshu tapasu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam tvayuktam yogi param sthanam upayati chadyam. He says the devotee gets the ultimate result of all the other paths. That is the supreme position of a bhakti yogi. He attains the results of all the Vedas, all the yajna, all the tapasya, all the dan, everything the devotee gets just by practicing of bhakti yoga. And then with this, Krishna ends this 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shloka Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. If anybody has any questions, they can put on the chat. There are some questions, I'll just take. Somebody has asked, can you explain the concept of demigod? So this is explained by Krishna in 7th chapter also and 3rd chapter also. Demigods, they are the representatives of Krishna. Just like in a company, there are so many department heads. There is a finance department, there is a legal department, R&D, HR department, sales department, accounts. Similarly, in this cosmic administration, there is a CEO and there are so many department heads who are taking care of various things in this universe. So the controller and the proprietor and the CEO of this material cosmic creation is Krishna or Vishnu. Now the Devatas, they are the various departmental heads. Just like Indra is in charge of rains, Varuna is in charge of water, fire, Agni Dev is in charge of fire, Saraswati is in charge of training and education, Brahmaji is in charge of constructions. He creates the entire creation. Yamaraj is what you know. Yamaraj is the appointing officer. He is the placement officer. He sees the records of the karma of an jiva and he gives them proper, post. So these are all servants of Krishna who are working according to their posts. So this Indra Dev, Chandra Dev, these are all posts. It's like Prime Minister is a post. And who is the Prime Minister now? Our Indian Prime Minister is Narendra Modi. Similarly, this Indra Dev is a post. Sun God, Surya Dev is a post. You know what is the name of Surya Dev? His name is Vivaswan. What is the name of Indra Dev? His name is Purandara. So these are the posts. So demigods, they are the servants of Krishna. Okay, thank you. So there is another question. Getting knowledge of Krishna is Kevala Gyan, Kevala Bhakti or Gyan Mishra Bhakti. So this Gyan Mishra Bhakti, we have to understand that in this Gyan Mishra Bhakti, there is a tinge of, a desire to merge in Brahman. But when we are developing knowledge of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, this is knowledge of pure devotional service. That is Kevala Bhakti. So the knowledge which we are acquiring is helping us to come closer to Krishna. So therefore, this knowledge is required. There is Atma Gyan, there is Aishwarya Gyan, and there is Kevala Gyan. So in this Kevala Gyan means knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Atma Gyan means knowledge of self. And Aishwarya Gyan means knowledge of the greatness of the Lord. So we want to develop the knowledge about the greatness of the Lord, sweetness of the Lord. That will bring us closer to Krishna. Yeah, somebody has asked a question. What will happen when someone remembers prasadam at the time of death? Arre baapre. ये जेजे वाले डिवोटी पूछ सकते हैं. There is one JJ devotee who has asked this. What happens when somebody remembers prasadam, kala jamun or sweet rice at the time of death? So basically, if we are just attracted by the taste of prasad, and if we are not connecting it to Krishna, that this prasad means this is a mercy of the Lord. So if we are tasting prasad in this consciousness that I am tasting the mercy of the Lord, then we'll become more Krishna conscious. That's why we offer our prayers, prasadam prayers, Mahaprasade Govinde, Sharira avidya jal, Janendriya tahekal. This body is a mire of ignorance. But out of mercy, O my Lord, tar madhye jivati lobha maya sudharmati. This is very, very complex material existence. You, by your mercy, you have given us Mahaprasad. And by tasting this Mahaprasad, I'll be freed from this bondage of material existence. So if we eat prasad, we have to take prasad, honor prasad in right consciousness. Then we will be freed from the bondage of material existence. In taking prasad purifies us. But if we are honoring prasad in right consciousness, it will take us closer to Krishna. Otherwise, it will just purify us of our sinful reactions. But our goal is not to become purified of sinful reactions. Our goal is to come closer to Krishna. And Mahaprasad, if honored in right consciousness, takes us closer to Krishna. So somebody has asked, please show the slide of 8.15. Go back. Okay. So in this slide, Krishna is saying, whoever, so he is describing the nature of this material world, and he says, this is Dukhalayam and Ashashvatam. And whoever takes shelter of Krishna, Mam Upetya means taking shelter of Krishna, he will not attain birth in this material world again. Na apnuvanti. He will not come back again in this material world. So that is what Krishna is saying, and therefore he describes this world as Dukhalaya and Ashashvata. What Narad Muni prescribed Dhruv Maharaj was Ashtanga Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So Narad Muni very clearly he told Dhruv Maharaj that you chant this Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and it gave him a process of deity worship. So he told that you make the deity out of the clay and you worship that form with the water of the river and offer whatever is available. At the same time, Narad Muni told him to practice this process by which he can see the Lord in his heart. So that process, Narad Muni expertly combined Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga also. Because after one sees the Lord in the heart as Ashtanga Yogi, then he develops a desire to serve him. Narad Muni told Dhruv that you serve the Lord also and you try to see the Lord in your heart also. So Narad Muni was such an expert preacher, he gave both the processes to Dhruv Maharaj. So somebody has asked to recap the 6 types of devotees. So the 6, I'll just go back very quickly. Okay. So these are the 6 types of devotees which are described in the 7th chapter. So the 4 types of devotees, they are described in verse number 7.16 and 7.29. Arto chaturvida bhajante mam janaha sukritino arjuna arto jigyasu artharthi. So this arto, jigyasu and artharthi, they are sakam bhakta. Sakam means they want something in return. And then 7.29, Krishna describes another sakam bhakta, that is mokshkami. Mokshkami means he wants liberation from this material world. That is also a desire. So these are the 4 types of sakama bhakta. And then in 17.16 to 18, Krishna describes about jnani also. Jnani is not a Sakam Bhakta. He is a Nishkam Bhakta. Nishkam means he is not in need of any material things. He wants to know about the Lord. And then in 7.1, Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjanmadashraya Asamsham Samagrama Vita Adhyastasya. That is a pure devotee. Kevala Bhakta. Keval Bhakta means pure devotee to the Lord. And that is what is described in 7.19 also. Hanuman, what will be the destination of the soul? So I can tell you about Prabhupada. One time somebody asked Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, what if at the time of death we are not able to remember Krishna and we remember you? So what will we get the same destination? And Prabhupada, so he asked, is it okay if we remember you at the time of death and if we are not able to remember Krishna? So Prabhupada closed his eyes and he paused for some time and he said, that's all right. So if we remember that pure devotees of the Lord at the time of death, pure devotees of the Lord will take our consciousness to Krishna only. So if somebody is remembering Hanumanji in the mood of serving Lord Ram, so the destination will be same. So that is how we have to understand that what is our consciousness, that is important. Why we are remembering Hanumanji, that is important. So our motivations are more important in the practice of Krishna consciousness. So we have to be very, very pure and true in our motives. If we are not true, if we are not pure in our motives, then we will not achieve the desired destination. Somebody is asked how to do quality chanting. Lots of thoughts come. Same here. I am also going through the same things. What to do? But what we have to do is we have to keep on struggling. We have to understand that Krishna likes to see his devotees struggling to chant attentively. When Krishna sees that this person has no taste in my holiness, but still he wants to chant, he likes to chant, Krishna shows mercy to that person very quickly. Because Krishna likes to see his devotees endeavoring. We have to endeavor to come closer to Krishna. We have to be eager to come closer to Krishna. That is the price we have to pay. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita mati kriyatam yadi kuto vilabhyate atra laulyam apimulyam ekalam jantakoti sukritam labhyate. Only price we have to pay to become Krishna conscious is we have to be eager about it. And another thing we have to do is we don't have to get discouraged. We don't have to lose our hope. मेरे से नहीं होगा ये लाइफ में तो मैं भगवत धाम नहीं जा सकता और नहीं जा सकती मेरे लिए नहीं. No, that is another form of Maya. We have to always be optimistic. As it is said, if you are not an optimist, you are an atheist. Only an atheist can say, I will not attain Krishna. As a devotee, we have to be always optimistic. Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will always protect me in all circumstances. That is the faith we should have. And whatever way possible, we have to continue struggling while our chanting, while our whatever services we are doing. So somebody has asked, at that time, can we do 8 rounds at a stretch? Yes, you can do 16 rounds also at a stretch. Depends on your capacity. Somebody has asked, at the present situation, there are so many people like Tata donating for humanity. What mode of material nature is this charity? And will this give them spiritual benefit? See, there are 3 types of pious activities. There is Bhogonmukhi Sukriti, Mokshonmukhi Sukriti, and Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. So Bhogonmukhi Sukriti means those pious activities which give the benefits that will make that person take birth in a better condition in the next life, and he will get all types of opportunities to enjoy life. And what are these Bhogonmukhi Sukriti? Just like giving charity to the people in general, opening hospitals, helping people, distributing food. All these are Bhogonmukhi Sukriti. Next life, this person can enjoy better. There is something called Mokshonmukhi Sukriti. Mokshonmukhi Sukriti means that pious activity which will help him getting liberated in the next life. So that is called Mokshonmukhi Sukriti. And there is third thing which is called Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. So spiritual benefit comes only by practicing this Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. Those activities which bring us closer to spiritual credits, spiritual life. What are these? First of all, practicing spiritual life, or glorifying those people who are practicing spiritual life, or tasting prasad of the Lord. These are bhakti unmukhi sukriti, serving the devotees of the Lord even unknowingly. So if we give prasad to someone and they just appreciate the taste of the prasad, and they say, "अरे क्या प्रसाद बनाते हैं वो हरि कृष्णा वाले ना, बहुत जबरदस्त प्रसाद खिलाते हैं." He is not appreciating Krishna. He is appreciating the taste of the prasad, spiritual benefit. So if all these people, if they are doing charity, these charities will help us live a good life in the next life, whenever they take birth. But only by practicing of bhakti, one can, or only by serving the devotees of the Lord, one can attain spiritual benefits. People are saying voice is breaking. I don't know why voice is breaking. But I think the questions are over. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.